Let's be honest, figuring out the move into aged care for someone you love, it's one of the toughest, most emotional things a family can go through. It's a world filled with confusing choices, big numbers, and, well, a whole lot of heart. So in this explainer, we're going to lay out a clear roadmap to help you get your head around the system, the costs, and the really critical decisions you're going to need to make. So to figure out where we're all heading, we've got to understand the situation on the ground. And right now, the aged care industry itself is under a massive amount of financial pressure. In fact, recent reports are showing that over 40% of Australian aged care providers are actually operating at a loss. Well, it means things are changing. Big time. To try and stabilize the whole system, the government is rolling out some major reforms. And for families just starting this journey, understanding these new rules isn't just a good idea, it's absolutely essential. You know, if you've ever looked at the aged care system and just felt completely overwhelmed, you are definitely not alone. It's this complicated mix of personal health needs, super detailed finances, and layers upon layers of government rules. It can honestly feel like you've been dropped into a maze without a map. And here's the thing, we're not just talking about picking out a new room. We're talking about figuring out how to pay for all the fees, how that's going to affect Social Security benefits, and of course, tackling that massive question, what on earth do we do with a family home? It's a whole series of huge financial and emotional decisions all hitting you at once. But here's the good news. Even the most complicated journey has to start somewhere, usually with a few clear, manageable steps. So let's lay out that starting roadmap that pretty much every family needs to follow. Okay, so everything, and I mean everything, officially kicks off with step one, getting an assessment. You have to get in touch with My Aged Care, that's the government's main entry point for all aged care services, to set up a free evaluation. This is what determines the level of care someone needs, and it's what opens the door to any government subsidies. After that's done, you can start digging into fees, applying to places, and getting your finances in order. All right, let's talk about money. This is, without a doubt, the part that trips most people up, but we're going to break down the different fees to make them a lot easier to understand. The easiest way is to think about it in layers. So on the bottom layer, every single resident pays what's called a basic daily fee. That covers all the day-to-day living stuff, like meals and laundry. Then, depending on your financial situation, you might pay a means-tested care fee, which is a contribution towards your clinical care. Then there's the big one, the accommodation payment for the actual room. And finally, some places have optional extra service fees if you want fancier amenities. Now, you're going to want to listen closely here. A massive overhaul of the system is coming on July 1st, 2025. For anyone who enters care after this date, the way these fees are calculated is changing. And for a lot of people, especially those with more assets, the costs are going to go up a lot. Just look at the difference this makes. We've got a sample scenario here, and you can see the first-year cost literally jumps from around $41,000 to over $75,000. That's mainly because of a redesigned means test and some new fees. This is easily the single biggest financial change you need to be aware of and start planning for. And all of this, of course, leads us to the single biggest question, the one that causes the most stress for nearly every family. What happens to the home? Do we have to sell it? Okay, let's just clear this up right now. This is a complete myth. The system is actually designed to give you choices. An aged care facility cannot and will not force you to sell your home. You have options for how to pay for your accommodation. You've basically got two main paths you can go down. You can pay for the room with a big upfront lump sum. That's called a refundable accommodation deposit, or RAD, and most of that money is returned when you leave. Or you can choose a rental-style daily payment called the DAP, which isn't refundable. You can even do a mix of both. The key thing is, every facility has to offer you these options. So, as we've seen, this whole system isn't standing still. The rules are changing, and the demand for care is just growing and growing. And that makes being proactive, thinking ahead and planning more important than ever before. This chart really shows you why all these reforms are happening. The demand for care is just skyrocketing, and that puts immense pressure on the system. With more and more Australians needing support, the government is trying to build a financial model that can actually last into the future. And this, right here, is where good planning becomes so critical. The financial decisions you make right now, how you decide to structure your assets, how you choose to pay for care, can literally make a difference of up to $100,000 over a 5-year period. The gap between an informed choice and an uninformed one is huge.
This is exactly where getting some professional advice can be a game changer. An expert who specializes in aged care finance can help you accurately figure out the costs, check your entitlements, and set up your assets in the smartest way possible, all while taking a massive amount of stress off your shoulders during what is already an incredibly emotional time.
Look, this journey into aged care is complex, and with all the changes coming, it's only getting more so. But the most important thing to remember is that you don't have to figure all this out by yourself. The single most important step you can take is to be prepared to ask for help. And please keep in mind that the information in this explainer is general in nature, everyone's personal situation is unique, so you should really consider if this is appropriate for your own needs and, where it makes sense, seek out professional advice from a qualified financial advisor.